Ethan Carter adjusted the strap of his worn backpack as he stepped into the first-class cabin, his 8-year-old daughter Lily holding tightly to his hand. It had taken him nearly 3 years of overtime shifts as a paramedic to save enough reward points for these 2 VIP seats. This wasn't a luxury vacation, it was the first trip they'd taken since Lily's mother had passed away, and Ethan wanted his little girl to experience something special for once. Lily's eyes sparkled as she looked around the elegant cabin. "Dad, are these really our seats?" Ethan smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "They sure are, sweetheart. Today, we're flying like royalty." Before they could sit down, a sharply dressed businessman strode toward them, followed by a flight attendant. His expensive watch flashed under the cabin lights, and his confident grin suggested he was used to getting everything he wanted. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," the businessman said coolly. "Those seats belong to me now." The flight attendant offered Ethan an apologetic smile. "Sir, this passenger has requested your seats. He's willing to compensate the airline generously if you'll move to economy." Ethan frowned. "But I booked these months ago." The businessman chuckled. "Come on. It's only a few hours. I'll make sure you're taken care of." Lily looked up at her father with worried eyes. Ethan wasn't interested in arguing. He had spent enough years teaching Lily that dignity mattered more than pride. He squeezed her hand and nodded. "It's okay," he said quietly. "We'll move." As they walked toward the back of the plane, several passengers whispered among themselves. Some looked sympathetic. Others simply admired the wealthy man's confidence as he settled comfortably into Ethan's seat with a satisfied smile. Lily leaned close to her father. "Does money always win?" Ethan paused before answering. "No," he whispered. "Sometimes money only wins for a little while." 5 minutes later, just before the aircraft doors closed, 2 airport security officers entered the cabin, accompanied by a woman in a navy blazer carrying official credentials. The cheerful atmosphere disappeared instantly. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced calmly, "we need everyone's attention." Passengers exchanged nervous glances. The woman walked directly to the businessman now enjoying Ethan's former seat. "Sir, may I see your boarding pass and identification?" He rolled his eyes. "Is this really necessary? I'm an executive with one of your largest corporate partners." "It is necessary." He reluctantly handed over his documents. The officer scanned them, then looked toward another security agent. "Confirmed." The businessman frowned. "Confirmed what?" The woman turned to face the cabin. "This aircraft has been selected for an urgent security inspection following a baggage identification discrepancy. Every passenger must disembark immediately." Groans echoed throughout first class. "What? You've got to be kidding. I have a meeting." The businessman slammed his hand onto the armrest. "This is ridiculous." "I'm afraid it isn't optional," the officer replied. Within moments, every passenger, including the businessman, was instructed to leave the aircraft. Lily looked at Ethan with wide eyes. "You said money only wins for a little while." Ethan smiled gently. "I guess we were both right." Inside the terminal, hundreds of passengers waited while security teams carefully inspected the aircraft. Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed suspicious luggage had been found. Others believed there had been a computer error. Nearly an hour later, an airline operations manager approached Ethan. "Mr. Carter?" He stood. "Yes?" The manager smiled warmly. "I'd like to personally apologize for what happened earlier. Our crew reviewed the cabin cameras while investigating the boarding process." Ethan looked surprised. "The passenger pressured our staff into relocating you, even though your reservation had priority. That should never have happened." "It's all right," Ethan replied. "Everyone was just trying to keep things moving." "Even so," the manager continued, your kindness under pressure impressed several members of our crew." He handed Ethan 2 new boarding passes. "We've transferred you and your daughter to our next flight." Ethan glanced down. The seats weren't just first class. They were in a private airline suite. His eyes widened. This isn't necessary." The manager smiled. "It absolutely is." Nearby, the wealthy businessman overheard the conversation. He marched over angrily. "What about me? I paid extra." The manager's expression remained professional. "Sir, because of your conduct toward both passengers and crew, your travel privileges are currently under review. You will be accommodated on a later flight pending completion of our report." The man's confident smile vanished. "But I'm an important client." The manager answered quietly. Today, being respectful was more valuable than being important. Silence settled around them. Several passengers who had witnessed everything earlier smiled toward Ethan. One elderly woman walked over and gently touched Lily's shoulder. "You have a wonderful father." Lily beamed with pride. "I know." Later that afternoon, father and daughter settled into their spacious private suite aboard the replacement flight. Lily curled beside the window, watching the clouds drift beneath them. She looked at Ethan. "Dad?" "Yes?" "I'm glad we lost those seats." He laughed softly. "So am I." She rested her head against his shoulder. "Because if we hadn't, we never would have learned that being kind can take you somewhere even better." Ethan kissed the top of her head as the aircraft climbed into the brilliant blue sky. Looking around the quiet cabin, he realized the greatest reward wasn't the luxury seat, the upgraded suite, or even the airline's apology. It was knowing his daughter had witnessed something far more valuable than wealth. She had seen grace defeat arrogance, patience outlast power, and character earn what money never could. As the sun painted the clouds with golden light, Ethan smiled peacefully. Some journeys begin with losing your seat. The best ones begin with refusing to lose your dignity. When the replacement flight landed in Seattle, Ethan expected the story to end there. He figured he and Lily would collect their bags, visit her grandparents, and quietly move on with life. Instead, the events from that morning followed them farther than he could have imagined. As they walked through baggage claim, a young airline employee hurried toward them. "Mr. Carter?" Ethan turned. "Yes?" The employee smiled. "Our regional director would like to speak with you before you leave." "It won't take long." A few minutes later, Ethan and Lily were welcomed into a private airport lounge. The airline's regional director, Maria Reynolds, stood as they entered. "Mr. Carter," she said warmly, extending her hand. "Thank you for coming." Ethan shook it. "Of course." Maria glanced at Lily. "You must be Lily." She nodded shyly. Maria smiled. "Our cabin crew couldn't stop talking about how brave you were today." Lily looked at her father. "Dad says being calm helps everyone else stay calm." Maria's smile grew even wider. "He sounds like a very wise father." She then placed a folder on the table. "We've completed our review." Ethan frowned slightly. "I thought everything had already been settled." "Mostly," Maria replied. "But we discovered something you should know." She opened the folder. "The passenger who demanded your VIP seats didn't simply ask politely. He repeatedly pressured our staff, claimed he had authority he didn't possess, and threatened several employees with complaints unless they removed you." Ethan remained silent. "Our crew should never have allowed it," Maria admitted. "We've already addressed that internally." She slid another document toward him. "As part of our apology, we'd like to offer your family complimentary first-class travel anywhere within the country for the next 2 years." Ethan blinked. "I'm incredibly grateful, but that's far too generous." Maria shook her head. "No, Mr. Carter. Kindness deserves recognition just as much as loyalty. Before Ethan could respond, another employee quietly entered the lounge carrying a tablet. "Ma'am," he whispered. Maria looked at the screen before sighing. "It appears today's story has already gone viral." Ethan looked confused. "What story?" The employee turned the tablet toward him. Someone had recorded the entire exchange on the plane, the businessmen forcing Ethan and Lily from their seats, Ethan calmly accepting the situation, and later the dramatic evacuation of the aircraft. Millions of people had already watched the video. The comments flooded the screen. "That little girl deserved those seats. Real class isn't measured by money." The father handled humiliation with unbelievable dignity. "Protect airline workers from entitled passengers." Lily read one comment aloud. "They're calling you a hero." Ethan smiled awkwardly. "I'm not a hero." Maria looked directly at him. "Perhaps not. But you reminded thousands of people that respect is a choice." Just then, Ethan's phone rang. The caller ID displayed an unfamiliar number. "Hello?" A man's voice answered. "Mr. Carter? My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm president of Northwest Emergency Medical Services." Ethan straightened. "Yes, sir. I saw the video." Ethan assumed the conversation was about the incident. Instead, Daniel surprised him. "I've spent years looking for leaders who stay calm under pressure. According to your employment record, you've never received a complaint in 12 years. Ethan chuckled softly. "I've just been doing my job." "Exactly," Daniel replied. "Would you consider interviewing for our Director of Emergency Response position?" Ethan froze. That promotion would nearly double his salary. For several seconds, he couldn't speak. Daniel laughed. "I'll take that silence as surprise." "You definitely can." After ending the call, Ethan sat quietly. Lily looked at him. "What happened?" He smiled, still trying to process everything. "I think Daddy may have just gotten the opportunity of a lifetime." Lily wrapped her arms around him. "I knew something good would happen." Maria laughed. "So did I." Meanwhile, across the airport, the wealthy businessman sat alone near a departure gate. His replacement flight had been delayed another 3 hours. Passengers who recognized him from the viral video whispered as they walked past. Some shook their heads. Others simply ignored him. For the first time in a very long while, his expensive suit, luxury watch, and designer luggage attracted no admiration. Only uncomfortable silence. He opened his phone. Thousands of comments criticized his behavior. His company had already issued a statement announcing an internal review. He slowly lowered the screen. For the first time that day, he understood something money couldn't purchase. Respect. Back in the lounge, Ethan and Lily prepared to leave. Maria handed Lily a small model airplane painted in the airline's colors. "This belongs to our youngest VIP today." Lily hugged it tightly. "Thank you." Before leaving, Ethan turned back. "I hope your crew knows I don't blame them." Maria smiled. "They'll appreciate hearing that." As father and daughter finally walked toward the airport exit, sunlight poured through the massive glass windows. Lily slipped her hand into Ethan's. "Dad?" "Yes?" "Remember when I asked if money always wins?" "I do." She grinned. "I think kindness just won twice." Ethan laughed. "No, sweetheart." She tilted her head. "It won every single time." Together they stepped into the bright afternoon, leaving behind an airport filled with delayed flights, unexpected lessons, and one unforgettable reminder. A seat can be taken. A flight can be delayed. Luxury can disappear in a moment. But character travels with you wherever you go, and sometimes, it opens doors no VIP ticket ever could.